along because it's a lot of fun and I'm just kind of navigating my way, which is called improvisation. Hey friends, Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing as good as I am. I'm super excited. This is part 2 of Blues Lead Guitar Essentials, where today I'm going to be showing you how to take the stuff that we learned yesterday, which is stuff like the blues scale, the pentatonic scale, the blue note, springboards, all that stuff that's covered inside of the PDF that I know you've clicked on that link and downloaded. It's in the description of the video right now on YouTube and Facebook. You should be looking at that right now. If not, I'm going to give you a minute to go over there, click on it, because we're going to be talking about some bits and pieces out of there today. And if not, okay, well, we are going to be talking about phrasing today. I'm probably not going to be referring, no, I will be referring to that PDF when we're doing Minimalistic Blues today. So you definitely will be wanting to look at that now, but most assuredly you'll want to be looking at that after the broadcast, and you'll be wanting to check out yesterday's broadcast where we talked about the foundational bits of what we're going to be talking about today, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. Phrasing, right? So a lot of folks, they know the pentatonic scale, they know the blues scale, and they're like, man, I know all these forms, and I practice it all day long, right? Like I said, if you're practicing your scales wrong, it's not, when you go to improvise, it's going to sound like scales instead of sounding like phrases, okay? So it's not to say that we necessarily are practicing our scales wrong, but if you're wanting to get a certain result, yes, you're practicing your scales wrong. The way you should be practicing them, once you understand them and they're under your fingers, is to do some sort of improvisation and to extrapolate the bits and pieces that are outside or that are inside all those different forms, but in smaller little sections, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so minimalistic blues is basically just a concept that I've come up with, because I've found that blues is really, it can be very simple, it can be very complex, but we want to start things off simply, right? Guitar in and of itself is a fairly complex instrument. I mean, I suppose any instrument could be, but you can walk up to a piano and start playing immediately. You can start playing chords, and it feels natural, right? You're just pressing down the weight of your hands, that sort of thing. But when it comes to guitar, it's not quite like that. There's other bits and pieces going on. So, I don't know, I forgot why I was going down that road with you there. But nonetheless, today what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to play the blues, and we're going to have a blast, okay? So you should have downloaded that PDF right now in the description of the video. Here we go. We're going to get started. And this is how it works. I teach the lesson for 40 minutes-ish, whatever it takes to get the message across, okay? And then I'll answer your questions in real time. The whole enchilada usually goes about 2 hours. We do giveaways at all these broadcasts, so if you're new to this, then please share this. If you're not new to this, then please share it. You know how it works. After the broadcast, we will be looking for a winner, and basically it's a random choosing. We're giving away 3 lifetime memberships this week. That's over $1,200 worth of lessons, okay? We love to give stuff away. It's a lot of fun. So that's what we'll be doing today. So please share this in whatever capacity you share it, on Twitter, Instagram, you know, the interwebs where the kids hang out and they share things, right? Okay, good. All right, so here we go. We're going to start with the lesson here. And what I was playing just now was a 12-bar blues, a slow, what I call slow-mo blues. In slow motion blues, 55 beats per minute, that was in the key of A. We talked about that yesterday, about how to determine, okay, if you're in a particular key, how to determine what scale should work, that sort of thing. And I'll just graze over that subject today, since we talked about that in detail yesterday, okay? Because really today what we're going to be talking about is phrasing and how to get these scales to come to life, okay? I promise you there's no magic in this. You take the best blues players in the world, they all started off where you are in blues. There's nobody that didn't start off at the beginning. Hendrix, Clapton, B.B. King, the best blues player, Robert Johnson, they all started off playing a 7th chord, maybe learning the scale or learning a lick or two out of the scale and then practicing that and it's sounding awkward, etc., etc. I know that a lot of you out there are like, I don't know about that, Eric. Trust me, I've been doing this a really long time, and I have never seen in my nearly 40 years of playing and teaching that I've never seen someone just pick up the guitar and play it without a lot of practice, okay? And oddly enough, the more they practiced, the better they were. It's this screwiest thing. It's so strange. It's like if they practiced a bunch, they got better. But if they didn't practice, they continued to suck. I don't know. It's some sort of crazy math, some sort of wizardry. I don't know. But I just found out that if you practice a lot, you get good. And that's why we have the Hendrixes and the Eddie Van Halen's and the Jimmy Pages of the world, because they just practiced a lot. And then we have a bunch of people I can mention to you that you've never heard of before because they don't practice, so we don't know who they are, okay? Not very non-impressive, okay? And the only difference between you and the best players in the world is practice. That is the only difference. Trust me, I've got no reason to say that other than to encourage you, and because it's the truth, okay? I don't have time for pep talks. I do have time to dispel the truth, to disperse the truth, and hopefully you will hear that message and you will understand that you have it within you. Now you just need the bits and pieces, and that's what we're covering today. Okay, so you got to have the blues scale at least form 1. And if we're looking at that PDF right now, then we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about form 1. So if you're looking at the PDF, including the cover page, we got 1, 2, 3. Well, I won't even go count through the pages, but nonetheless, we're going to go scroll all the way down till you see the blues scale. Okay, so past the pentatonic scales, and now we're at the blues scale. And here we are, we're talking about right at the top of the forms, A minor blues form 1. This is the first scale that most people learn, and it's the one that us guitar teachers love to teach because there's so much juice in that one form. I literally could just play that form all day long and come up with a million different solos. And the most classic rock solos and the classic blues solos of all times were written from that exact form, from form 1. So the other forms, they work well together. They are the same notes. The blues scale is the pentatonic scale plus the blue note, making it a hexatonic or a 6-note scale. And it's repeating those 6 notes all over the neck. Okay, so just because you know it down here and up here doesn't mean you know more notes. It's really the same 6 notes, just played in different ways or in different octaves. But really, we're just talking about the same 6 notes. So it's like we're working with 6 colors. It's hard to describe it maybe in a different octave, but really you're using the same 6 colors. And if you can use them in a very small portion of the neck, which is a lot more doable mentally, physically, and all, then you will understand how to phrase in the blues genre, okay? And when you can phrase in the blues genre, the other genres seem to be so much easier because there's a lot of breathing, right? There's a lot of pausing and waiting and allowing that to sink in what you just played and that sort of thing. That's all about phrasing. I saw something written on a blog yesterday. It was B.B. King playing, and B.B. King does a lot of, he'll play and he'll go... And there's a lot of pausing in between, and a very immature comment said, why do people do that? Why do they sit there and pause in between the phrases? Well, that's known as maturity. It's musical maturity when you allow a musical passage to sink in. Okay, there's a reason B.B. King is the king of blues. It's not because he's overplaying. I mean, he could do this all day. And on and on and on and on and on to where it just becomes a drone, as opposed to saying something superb, waiting for it to sink in and moving on. Okay, and this is called phrasing. We do this all day long. I'm doing it right now as I speak. You hear my voice going up. If I ask a question like how are you doing today? That would be a question. Or if I say, and that's the end of the subject, and my note goes down. There are certain inflections that we make with our voice that we can do on the guitar as well, and it will evoke emotion, just like certain scales and certain chords will actually evoke emotions, just like a smell will, right? If I put garlic under your nose or if I put peppermint under your nose, you're going to get 2 different emotions from those 2 different things, okay? Peppermint's very bright and it lifts you up, makes you excited, and garlic makes you go, were we eating pizza or what's going on, I don't want to smell this unless I'm eating something. So In the same way that smells and what have you can do these different things, notes can too, and the placement of them and how we present them, all that has everything to do with that sound, okay? So what we're going to be looking at is minimalistic blues to start off, and then we're also going to be doing some call and response. So get your guitars ready, okay? Because you're going to be playing along with me in real time. If you have some headphones, that would be awesome. If not, just make sure that the speakers are cranked loudly. But what call and response is when basically I play something or one guitar player plays something and then the other guitar player answers back. There's a few different ways you can do this. The two main ways you can do it is if I play something, you try to copy exactly what I do, okay? Traditional call and response is when one player plays something and the other guitar player compliments them, like you would in a nice conversation. If I say, man, beautiful day today, isn't it? Oh, Eric, it's lovely. Did you see that rainbow earlier? You know, we are complimenting each other, and there's a space for me to speak, a space for you to speak, and we are in communion because we're speaking together. We both have a chance to speak, as opposed to someone just taking the floor and barraging you with everything that they think and never asking about your day. Okay, so you want to think whether you're playing with another player or you're playing by yourself, it's a conversation. There should be a time to breathe. There should be moments where you don't say anything. There should be moments where you're resting on a note. There should be moments where you're playing fast, moments where you're playing slow, moments where you're playing loud, moments where you're playing softly. Because without those dynamics, just like in a conversation, it can get really boring. Because if I'm talking like this the whole time in one syllable or one actual tone the whole time without any sort of inflection in my voice, any sort of rise and fall of any sort of volume in the rhythm's the same and what have you, if I talk like this for an hour straight or 2 hours straight, it would drive you nuts. So we can't do that. That's why we have inflection, okay? I'm saying this to you because it's absolutely important. If you don't get it in the way that I'm speaking, you're never going to get it on the scales. You're never going to get it with someone showing you a million scales, because it's not about that. It's understanding these concepts first, okay? So even though we're not playing, we're learning, okay? We've got to understand these concepts before we can jump into this. I see this sometimes on YouTube videos where people get frustrated that I'm talking instead of playing, but really, in fact, without the instruction, without me telling you the analogies of what it is we're trying to do, you're not going to just pick up the guitar and play it. It doesn't work like that, okay? At some point, there needs to be a realization. So let's look at this blues form 1. We're going to cover one little subject really quickly, and that is the subject of keys, just to bring you a little overview of what we did yesterday. But if we're in the key of A, which this chord progression that I was just playing was in the key of A, it was A7, D7, E7, nice and slow, and that's the one we're going to be working on together, okay? Because that's in the key of A, we have decided, have decided that we're going to be using the A minor blues form 1. That's the scale that you hear most of the time, and minor blues is the tonality that you hear most of the time in blues. We could also play major blues, and when I cover that inside the PDF, but to make things nice and simple today, because we got to start off simple, okay? Folks think that overcomplicating things or complicating things makes it better. It doesn't if you don't have the simple stuff down. It's going to make it a lot harder and make it sound even worse and frustrate you and make you think that you're not cut out for guitar, which, if you can hear me right now, you're cut out for guitar. Trust me, you can be anything that you want to be in guitar if you do the practice. So it's there for you. We just need to connect the dots, okay? So we've got this form here. It's in A. And the form looks like this. At the 5th fret, we've got fingers 1 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. Okay, and you can see it right there, form 1. It's the dots in the yellow. Okay, now we're going to play a little bit on the top 3 strings, so you don't even have to know the whole form. The only thing you have to know for today's exercise, you ready? Well, for the first time around, the only thing you need to know is the top 3 strings. So here we go. On string 3, we have frets 5, 7, and 8, or using fingers 1, 3, 4. And on the next 2 strings, we have 1, 4, 1, 4. our tonic. That's why it has a red circle around it on the PDF. Now later on, we're going to extend this. We're going to come up here. And check this out. It only gives us one extra note. And it takes one note away, this guy down here. So we just basically moved it up. We could slide that up and you'd hear it. But we're only going to do it one at a time because that's going to confuse you if I throw both of them in there right in the beginning. But you might say to yourself, well, why would we extend that and go through all that, mind-bending bit on where we have to learn a new form if it's only giving us one extra note? Why wouldn't we just... Well, number one, you can do that, but here's why. If you've ever changed your mind on a subject about anything whatsoever in life, whether that's food or politics or religion or ethics or whatever, have you ever had that where you actually changed your mind? I know it sounds like a crazy subject, but chances are if you're older than about 3 years old, you've changed your mind on something, right? Why? Why did you change your mind? Because you got a different perspective, okay? So if we've got a piece of sculpture sitting in the middle of a room, we're at an art exhibit, and we look at it from one angle, well, we can see a particular something, but if we walk around the whole thing, we might be able to get perspectives of that particular piece that we didn't get from just one particular angle, and it may be something entirely different, okay? There's actually art forms built upon this to where if you look at it from one form, it looks like a cacophony of junk. But then if you look at it from this one specific angle at a certain distance, it all comes together and makes this fantastic imagery that absolutely makes total sense because it was built that way. It was built to confuse from all these different angles, but the one angle, it all makes sense, okay? So in the same way that we need perspective, right, to understand this stuff, we've got a form here, and even though it adds one note, what it's doing is it's creating a new perspective for us, a new way to think about the notes, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take these top four here, and I'm going to play a little bit for you, giving you some examples of what call and response is and phrasing and that sort of thing, and then you and I are going to play together. That's going to be fun, okay? And then we're going to do this in two different forms, in form 1 and form 2, but luckily for us, we're only going to be using the top 3 strings. Why? Well, because mostly when folks are playing lead instruments, or they're playing lead guitar, improvisation, they want those notes to be higher in pitch than the rest of the band so that the audience can hear you, okay? So there's a reason why that is. We can play lower notes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I did just now when I was improvising. But I did it just to bring in some new tastes, right? That contrast like we talked about. If we're doing the same thing all the time, it's going to get boring, so we got to bring some different contrast in. But you notice that I didn't play very much down here. I played a lot up top, and I have some places that are my favorites, and you'll find out that from most other guitar players, those are their favorites too, and there's a reason why. The notes really sing out, and they're just right in that perfect range, okay? Okay, so here we go. What I'm going to be doing is showing you literally how you can just take a handful of notes, and in this case here, top 3 strings of form 1 of the A minor blues scale. You can find this in the PDF. Those folks that are joining us on Instagram right now, head on over to Facebook and YouTube to get that PDF, okay? All right, so I'm going to start this track, and you're going to hear right off the bat, it's in the key of A, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here so you can see exactly what I'm doing and just show you how simple this really is. I'm not playing anything more than I'm covering 3 strings and really 3 fingers. I may do some bending into this next form, but at first I won't. I'll just keep it very simple. And again, here's the form. Starting on the 3rd string. So 1 3 4, 1 4, 1 4. It's literally that simple, okay? So now I'm going to start my track, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like to phrase. I'm going to start off very simply, and then I may complicate it a little bit, okay? Here we go. Okay, now you may have desired for me to resolve that note down here. I know me personally playing this, I just kept wanting to resolve it, but I promised you that we'd just be playing on the top 3 strings. So I had to resolve it up high. A lot of times I'd go instead of. Okay. Now, what I mean by resolve is I'm playing the tonic. So we're in the key of A. The tonic is the resolve. It's the note that we come back to a lot of times to end phrases. If we do it every single time, just like if we play loud all the time, or if we play quiet all the time, or if we play fast all the time, or if we play slow all the time, whatever it is, it gets boring. Without contrast, we don't have anything to compare it to, so it becomes ordinary. Okay? So we don't want to do that. But in this case, I just wanted to show you what it's like to just use those 3 strings. But we do want to resolve a lot of times. If we resolve every single time, just like playing slow, it gets boring, or fast all the time, it gets boring, okay? It's cool at first, but then it gets predictable. We know where the phrases are going to end. So if I end on that A every time, it's going to get predictable. It's not going to be fun, okay? So now that form is a great form. I love it. But this next form, it really truly is my favorite. And if we're looking at the PDF, again, the one you download in the description of the video, what we're going to be doing here is A minor blues form 2. You're going to see it. Okay, it's in green, and we're just using the top 3 strings. So in this case here, we're starting on, we're in the 7th position, and we are playing fingers 1, 2, 3. And then we're shifting up 1 fret to the 8th fret, and we're playing 1, 3, 1, 3. So like this. And then I shift. And then if I'm going back, I shift again. Or I could go. Doesn't matter. And that bends, those bends give us a few extra notes, okay? So let's try this again, okay? And I'm going to just do the same thing just so you can kind of get the idea of what it is we're really trying to do here. And then together you and I are going to play, okay? So now this is just the top 3 strings, 2nd form. Here we go. same thing on this one when we're playing minimalistically. So that's what I call minimalistic blues, in that you just take a very small section of the neck. Because again, 6 notes, right? Whether you're playing them here or here, doesn't really matter. We could play this lick here or you know, there's a lot of different places where we could play this. So the point of that is that, again, if you understand how to phrase in one specific section of the neck, then you can move that all around the neck, and you're going to understand what notes work with what chords best. But if you are that kind of player, and everybody does this in the beginning, is you think more is more, and in fact more is less when it comes to blues a lot of times, at least in the beginning. When you have all these notes, now you're just playing the scales. You're getting confused and you're playing all these notes, but it just doesn't sound right, okay? Similarly, I say this all the time, it's like a child who has been given a dictionary, and maybe they can phonetically say everything in that dictionary, but they don't know what it means, so they're just like mimicking stuff, right? They're just saying what they've heard. That's not necessarily what we're looking for here. We're looking to actually say something, okay, and know what it is that we're trying to say, musically speaking. So even though I got some good phrases out of here, sometimes I wanted to resolve it lower, I wanted to resolve it higher, and if you could hear some tension, or if it sounded too minimalistic or not like it spoke to you too much, was the fact that I was boxed up a little bit in here, okay? So minimalistic blues is a great way to practice, because what it does is it confines you to one area, and you have to, number one, pull out as much as you can from that one section, so you end up learning it really well. If you were stuck with somebody who you've never talked to before, let's say you were stuck in an elevator for a week, you think you'd get to know them better than you would if you met them in a coffee shop and you weren't interested in them at all? Yep, probably so. You get to know them really well. You might even find some things that you like about them. So similarly, if we force ourselves, and this is an old art trick, okay, that when you put confines or rules on whatever kind of creativity you're trying to develop, you actually can come up with more than having no rules whatsoever. A lot of people are confused about this subject. They think, oh, I don't want any rules, man. I don't want any music theory. It's gonna break my stride, man. I'm a real creative type, and I can't have any music theory. Bull crap. That's like saying you're a painter and you don't want to know anything about paint. You don't want to know anything about brushes or canvas or contrast or perspective or anything like that. That's similar to saying something like this, okay? In art class, on the first day of art, they don't say when you come in, they're like, okay, here we go. You're going to learn to be an artist today. So what I want you to do is I want you to create your first piece and bring it in tomorrow. They don't do that, because everybody's going to be like looking at each other. We're like, what's the rules though? What do we need? You know, everybody does this first day of school, right? You want to know what the rules are so you can stay in the lines. Well, if on the first day of art class they say, I want you to take a piece of canvas, and we're going to be using acrylic paint, and we're going to be using just our fingers, and the 3 colors are black, red, and white, and I want you to create a scene about love or a scene about war or whatever it is. Well, now you've got some perspectives, you've got some rules, you've got some places that you can stay in, and now you can do your picture. And the same is true when it comes to music. If we have this one little section of the neck that we can noodle around in and get really good at, well, then that allows us, number one, to build confidence. Hey, look at that painting I just did, or hey, look at that little solo I just did. And it brings that confidence into other things that you're doing, and you're looking at it more with a microscope level as opposed to 30,000-foot view, and you've got so many notes to choose from that you don't really say anything or play anything, okay? That's why minimalistic blues is absolutely so crucial, and that's what we're doing today. So we're going to do this together. Oh, no, by the way, the lucky winner, we want 2 folks won yesterday, and the lucky winner who's going to win today is going to get not only a lifetime membership to UGS/365, but they're also going to get all the blues that are inside the course. We've got hundreds of blues jam tracks, blues tutorials, just walking you through the whole enchilada on playing the blues lead, blues rhythm, you name it, it's in there. If you would like to try that out, we've got the $1 special. We opened it back up about a month ago, YourGuitarSage.com/1. There's the link right there. You literally can have 30 days access to everything that I do. No limitations whatsoever. Like literally dig in, have a blast. I have folks that sometimes get in there and they say, "Hey Eric, I'm going to get in there, but I'm not going to sign up for anything." And I say, "Do it. At least try it out and take advantage of what I have for you, okay? Do it at least one time, right? Take advantage of it for a month. Even if you did get out of there, I'm fine with that. I just want you to learn to play guitar, okay? So do it with that. Do it with the free course. Do it with these live broadcasts. Do it with the 1,000-something videos I have on YouTube, the free ebook. I got lots of free stuff for you, okay? I want to get you to that next level, okay? So without further ado, here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to do some call and response here. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to show you how it's going to work first, and then we're going to fly. You and I are going to do this, okay? And basically, what I want you to do is I want you to take the form that I'm going to tell you before we start. It's going to be super easy. You can do this on acoustic or electric. It doesn't matter. Now, I'm probably going to be bending some notes. So if you're doing this on acoustic, instead of bending, slide, okay? And for these bends, they're almost always going to be a whole step. So that means 2 frets higher than the note that we're on. Okay, you would slide it up. If you're on the electric, then do the bend if you can. Okay, just go for it. Got to start somewhere, right? So I'm going to show you what the form is, and then basically the way it's going to work is I'm going to play a measure. You're going to play a measure. I'm going to play a measure. You're going to play a measure. Now I'll have to see it. Maybe that we'll do 2 measures, but I'll have to see here. I'll have to see how fast these go by. And I'll tell you, you'll hear me say it. Okay, this will be me. This will be you. Well, even though I'm going to say it's you, it'll be me playing this first time around. And then the next time there's just going to be a big hole there. And the idea is that you're going to try to mimic me to the best of your ability. We're going to keep it real simple. But the point is this. You're going to be watching what I'm going to do on the neck, and then you're also going to be listening to what I'm doing on the neck. You're not going to get it every time, and that's okay, because if you're sticking to the scale, it's going to sound like legitimate call and response, because I'm going to play something, and if you mess it up and you play something different, that's kind of what call and response is anyhow. Is you're playing a variation of what I'm doing instead of the exact same thing. But the reason that we're doing the exact same thing is so that you can get an idea of phrasing. Just like if I'm speaking to a child and I'm saying potty, you need to go to the potty, 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 potty. You say it enough times to where they can phrase it, and then now they're saying potty. That's what you and I are doing, okay? As I'm teaching you how to say the word potty, but in this case in blues, okay? So here we go. We're going to start this off, and the first go-around is going to be me, and then it's going to be you in theory, and then we're really going to do it. So this is just a test right now, okay? So you can get the idea here. So this first go-around is going to be me. Here we go. And then you're gonna go. Then I'm gonna go. 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 You're gonna go. Then I'm gonna go. You're gonna go. Okay, it's literally that easy. Now, at first, you're gonna play things not where they should be and everything, but guess what? There's a few hundred people watching this, and they're all gonna be messing up at the same time too. But that's okay, because the only way to get to where you don't mess up is to mess up, and then to actualize it and realize that you messed up. What do I need to do to change it? You correct it. The brain is incapable of not learning if you're doing this method. And then what happens is you figure out what you did wrong, you correct it, and next time you're less likely to make a mistake. You've been doing this your whole life. Look at you. Seriously, you've been doing this your whole life with everything else. We can do this with guitar too, okay? So here we go, and I'm gonna zoom in this way so you've got a better perspective of what I'm doing. Cool. So now you got it right there in 4K, 3D, not 3D, but nonetheless, you've got it nice and close there. You can see exactly what I'm doing, and literally the whole point here is you're gonna try to mimic what I'm doing, okay? And then we're going to move it up to the next area in after this. But we're going to do this for a little bit here. Let's get into a good vibe here, okay? Here we go. And oh, by the way, every phrase will sound really good except for the very last phrase, which will be your phrase, because that's what's called the turnaround, and the chord changes there, okay? And the phrase that I'm playing is going to sound better with that particular chord, but then when it comes to your chord, it's not going to sound quite as good, but it's going to get the point across. Some of you are going to hear it and some of you aren't going to hear it. Later on, as your ear matures, you will hear this more and it will make more sense, okay? All right, so here we go. I'm going to go first and then you're going to go, and I'll tell you when to go. There'll be a big space there unless you're playing. Here we go. Here's me. And then you. Here's me again. And you. Here's me. You. Here's me. You. This is you. Here's me. And you. Let's do it again, right? You. Here's me. Here's me. This is you. This is you. This is you. It's alright if it doesn't sound exactly like it. It's totally fine. Me again. You. Here's me. And you. Here's me. Here's you. Ba, 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 ba. And this is you again. Okay, now, how does that feel, right? I know a lot of you are like, oh, I couldn't catch up with you, and as soon as I did, and I fell off, and this, that. Don't worry about that. There is 0 people that have ever been born in the world who get this the first time. Nobody gets it the first time, so why would you expect that you would, okay? No one gets it at first. It takes time. It's just like anything you've ever done. You remember back in the day when you had a hard time like making it to the potty in time, or hitting your mouth with a fork, right, when you were a little kid, or saying a word, or walking, right? These are all things you're doing like a champ now, okay? Why? Because you practiced them. That's the only reason. It's not because you got older, got bigger, because if you didn't practice those things, you could be older and not have gotten those things. It all has to do with practice, and everybody, no matter what it is that they're doing for the first time, they're not going to do it well, okay? Some might do it a tiny bit better than others, but if you don't have the tools, if you never had the tools before, what would make you think that you get it right away? So it's going to be a little bit awkward at first. It just is, and that's okay. We're on this journey together, okay? So now, that's the less fun of the two. I like the second one, which if you're looking at your PDF, those folks on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, make sure that you go to the link that's in the description of that video. Get that PDF if you haven't already, because that's what we're doing right now is we're looking at Form 2. Okay, so Form 2, it's the one in green, and again, we're only working with strings G, B, E. It's the top 3 strings, 3, 2, and 1. And here is what it looks like, okay? Literally. We're at the 7th fret, 7th position. We got 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to slide up 1 fret, and we're playing 1, 3, 1, 3. Okay? And that's all that we're doing. Eric, why are we doing this? You're killing me. This is boring. It's so simple. Is it? Then you better be kicking ass right here at this. If this is boring to you, then it better be boring because you are absolutely annihilating the fretboard. It's burning. There's smoke coming from it because you're that good. You can't suck at something and be bored at the same time. Okay? You can't. Or if you are, then you need to be focusing, because it's not because it's boring, it's because something else is distracting you, okay? So one can be bored if they're so good at something, and that's kind of the level that we're trying to get to, okay? I want you to be bored with it because you're so good at it, not because you're not willing to put the time in, right? Let's be a champ, not a chump, and let's actually put the time in and put our big boy girl pants on, girl and boy pants on, and let's do this, okay? Seriously. So a little hard love, right? Got to do this. So, second position, let's do this, okay? This watch is driving me nuts. Okay, so here we go, and it's going to be the same bit, okay? The same exact bit where I'm going to play something, then you're going to play something, and I'll start it off. It'll be a lot simpler, though. I love this position, okay? Here we go. Here's me. This is you. I'm bending this note up a little bit. Here we go. Me. You bending? You can slide this. Here's me. Here's you. Here's me. You. Here's me. You. Me. You. Me. You. Okay, now, we obviously can do this a whole bunch, but I really want to get to questions because we've gone a little bit long, and I've got lots of free resources for you. Now, obviously, friends, if you're in UGS, you know where to go to get these extras, right? You, in the upper left-hand corner of UGS, there's a search engine there. Just type in blues, or really whatever it is you're looking for. If you're looking for chords, type in chords there. If you're looking for caged system, you type in cage there, just like you would on YouTube, except on YouTube, you're going to type in YourGuitarSage Blues, or YourGuitarSage Call and Response. That's what we did just now. It's called Call and Response. Some other folks may have videos on it. I'm sure they do. That's not a new concept. But if you're looking for what I'm doing in the way that I did it just now, search YourGuitarSage Call and you'll find at least a couple videos for it. And I also have jam tracks out there on YouTube, okay? That's one thing I want you to look for. The other thing I want you to look for is called Minimalistic Blues. I have at least one video on YouTube in regards to that. Inside UGS, I have whole courses built on minimalistic blues, call and response, jam tracks, all that stuff, okay? So again, if you want to get in there for $1 and really check out all the good stuff, you can do that. Otherwise, I got lots of free stuff for you on YouTube as well. I want you to move ahead. In whatever capacity you can do it, I want you to move ahead, okay? So let's summarize really quickly before we get to questions. Facebook, get your questions ready. YouTube, get your questions ready. If you're on Instagram, you know where to head, my friends. You got about 10 more minutes before that feed goes away. But this is where we're going to be answering questions, is YouTube and Facebook. And yeah, okay, cool. So before we go into that, let's cover some basics here again really quickly. So here's the deal. Here's what you really need in order to play the blues. And I get these questions all the time. People say, what about yesterday? Somebody said Segovia scales. Those are classical scales, okay? You don't need those for blues. You need one scale for the blues scale, okay? Once you get so amazing at that, then you could start bringing in some crazy scales. But honestly, that's like if you're eating, I don't know, Mediterranean cuisine and you bring in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, okay? Can you eat that in a Mediterranean restaurant? Sure you can. Is it Mediterranean? Nope. So it probably doesn't belong in a Mediterranean restaurant. Same thing with blues. The blues is the blues. It's the blues scale, it's seventh chords, all the stuff that we covered last week and this week. So there's certain things that give it that sound. If you bring in these other sounds, these other bits and pieces, then it's not going to sound like blues so much anymore. You can do it, create some sort of hybrid, but it's not true blues, right? So you need the blues scale. You need to know how to use it in the different keys like we talked about yesterday. See the PDF for more details for that. The rhythm stuff we talked about last week, but just lead stuff, you got to know how to use your blues scale, okay? We talked about major and minor blues, major and minor pentatonic, all covered in the PDF. We talked about springboards in that really we're talking about a 5 or 6 note scale, and if you understand your springboards, like if I need an A, I've got an A here, 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 here. There's A's all over the fretboard. Well, now that I know where those A's are very quickly by using my springboard method, it's in the PDF, now I can play off of those licks, and if I'm up here noodling away and I needed to resolve that lick, you know, I know where it's at right away. See, I'm always having that. I know where that A is at all times so that I can resolve the lick. And so with springboards, not only do we know where that tonic is at all times, think about that as the period at the end of your sentence, the thing that says, hey man, I know what I'm talking about. I just played a lick and I ended it at the right place. If you don't, it's like you're saying something really eloquent and then you just kind of fade out and you're just like, and you do that because you don't end it, right? It's like in Tommy Boy, was that a niner in there? It's that sort of thing. You want to be able to know where that one is at all times so that you can resolve the phrase, okay? So super important. So that's what springboard, number one, allows us to do. The other thing it allows us to do is it allows us to play a lick like... We can do this all over the neck by knowing the springboards. Okay, so that was the other thing. And last thing, phrasing, call and response, minimalistic blues. I told you can get videos for YouTube, on YouTube, call and response and minimalistic blues. Lots of those, a lot more inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. So if you're in there already, you know where to go there. And I gave you the $1 offer, so if you need that, you can check all that out for $1. You get 30 days in that. And we talked about phrasing. Phrasing is so important because we phrase. That's what we do. Okay, it's because there's contrast. If we don't have contrast, we don't really have anything to compare different things to, okay? With bright, there needs to be dark. With loud, there needs to be quiet. Otherwise, there's nothing to compare the other two. It's yin-yang. It's the laws of the universe, right? I didn't invent them. I'm just saying we got to do them when we're playing guitar. So understanding about phrasing and breathing, okay? Horn players, they have to breathe, so they'll play their part, you know, and they got to take a breath, let the spit out of the trombone or whatever it is, and then keep going. And be that as it may, we don't have to do that on the guitar. We can fiddle away, you know, to our heart's content. We don't have to. We can breathe and play at the same time. Unfortunately, we don't have that place where we have to breathe, which makes us stop. Horn players, they just have that automatically, so it's not as much of an issue. That's why a lot of guitar players overplay. So we got to learn phrasing, and you can do that through the call and response and Minimalistic Blues. Cool? All right. Without further ado, my friends, we're going to get to some questions. As I'm pulling up Facebook, as I'm pulling up YouTube to get to both of those questions, please share this right now because it's going to give you an opportunity to win one lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365. This week we gave away over $1,000 worth of goodies, and we didn't even do a big live broadcast. It's just like our little ones each week, right? So we're having fun here, right? Okay, so I'm bumping over to Facebook. That's where I'm going to look first. I'm going to be looking for some questions, and then I will bump over to YouTube. Cool? I'm only going to address those that have question marks because it's just too much for me to sit there and read every comment when there's no question mark. Cool? Cool. All right. Any advice for a lefty, Sean? No, not in particular. You're going to play the guitar the same way. There's no specific advice for a lefty. It's as difficult or easy as it is to be a righty. You want to be BB? That would make you dead. Actually, I'm pretty sure BB King is still alive. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure, unless something happened, I don't know. I could be that out of it. It wouldn't surprise me. Hey, Ken, how are you? Okay, so you guys are talking amongst yourselves there. That's okay. I like that. All right, still looking on Facebook, and I'm gonna go through these really quickly. We typically don't have a ton of questions on Facebook. Usually, it's almost always on YouTube where we get the majority of our questions. Oh, okay, here we go. I want to ask a question, but I got to go to bed. Go to bed, Josh, and that's okay. Maybe someone can help me post it again later. Eric takes questions. How do you know if you are rushing your practice? Example, I started day 1 of 365. For those of you that don't know, 365 is a huge guitar playing daily program based on 7 different days of the week with 7 different practice areas that we put up just a few months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, month ago now. It's daily practice, PDFs, those sorts of things. And he's working on that. And I forced myself to follow the click at 120 BPM. Should I have started out at half first to get confident, then build up? Indeed. Speed does not matter, my friends. Speed is wherever you're at, okay? If I asked you to run a marathon today and you did it in 4 hours, and it's the first marathon you ever run, should I whip you? No. It was how long it took you to do that. Now, if you want to get faster at running a marathon, you practice. You get up early and you do your running and you eat right and you do all these different things, okay? But wherever you're at, it's where you're at. Don't rush that part. If you want to rush that part, take that energy of rushing something and frustration and put it into lots of practice time, okay? So if you're trying to force something to happen really quickly, that's like a brain surgeon trying to hurry up what he's doing. It's probably not going to turn out like you want it to, okay? So definitely don't start at 120 beats per minute. That was just what's default in the software, and I had to put something, okay? If I had put, 50 beats per minute, somebody said that's too slow. If I had put something faster, they'd said it's too fast. So it doesn't matter. Wherever you start is where you start, okay? My brain hurts, my heart hurts. Oh, wait, am I where I'm supposed to be? Because this is the blues. Yeah, your heart should hurt a little bit when you're playing the blues or you're not doing it right. Now, but really, that's the sound we're going for, Can we do this, say, I don't know, about 137 more times? Yes. Okay. I was having trouble seeing exactly, oh, hold on, here we go. This is from Scott. I was having trouble seeing exactly which string you were starting on for each phrase. I was wondering if it would be possible in the future to have a little view of the picking hand screen inlaid. Scott, we're doing the Zoom, so you'll have to tell me what you need more than that. We're doing 4K Zoom, so yeah, if you have a suggestion where we can make that clear, I would love to know, because we've got it as close as we possibly can. Thank you so much for sharing, John. I really appreciate that, sir. Okay, they talk a lot. About something called the BB box, the BB King box that applies to this scale we just learned, or can it be used with the 12-bar blues we did? Yeah, we did the BB box. That's his favorite little area there, and it is the blues scale. It's just another section of the neck. Kevin's saying, no, BB is dead. Is he? How did I miss this? BB King's dead. Okay, I apparently am just an idiot. Just got here. What have I missed? Died a couple years ago. Oh, man. Bummed out now. Thanks. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, somehow I missed that? I don't know where I was. I was probably teaching. Okay, so here I go. I'm headed to YouTube now, so let's get to some questions, okay? Okay, and remember, I'm only looking for ones that have a question mark, because it goes way too fast, okay? Do you play within the scale or seek out triad notes? Ray is saying. Ray, I do both, and the majority of the time, when you are playing scales, or when you're improvising, okay, this is how it works. You've got a key, right? And you've got a scale. And you can think about it like the chords are the background of your picture, okay? So maybe there's a mountain, there's a sun and some grass and some cows on a field or something like that. And then whatever you paint in the front, the foreground, is the lead work, okay? So like if you have this beautiful sunny sky and there's a hill and there's cows and stuff, you're probably not going to have dinosaurs there at the same time, right? You're probably going to have a kid flying a kite or something like that if you want the two to match. And similarly, when we have a chord progression, the chord progression dictates a central note called the key or the tonic, the root, okay? Many different things we can call it. Actually, the root's the part of the chord, but essentially we're talking about a central note that all the other notes revolve around. And a scale has a root, which should match with the tonic of the scale. So if it's an A major, then an A major scale should work. Okay. In the case of blues, we have an A major chord progression, but a lot of times we're using the A minor blues. That's an anomaly. Okay, we don't usually run into that. In fact, I don't know of any other time where that really works. It works with blues. Okay. Otherwise, if it's major, use a major scale. If it's minor, use a minor scale. Okay. Now, with that being said, I've got to look back at this question to make sure I've got it right here. Okay, so you're saying, do I play the scale or the triad notes? With that being said, we could technically just play the scale all over the neck, right, while the chord progression's happening. But there's a couple things that we're missing there. We're missing phrasing. We got a phrase. We can't just sit there and noodle around on the scale. Also, like I said here, it's really helpful to just take a small portion of the scale and get really used to a particular jam track, like what's in UGS or what I have on YouTube. Sit there and play that jam track many times over, dozens of times, hours, whatever it takes, and work with that one little part of the scale, because the only way you can really truly get to know it is by playing that scale over that, okay? A guitar teacher can say, hey, this note's going to sound really good over this chord, and this note's going to sound better over this chord, and that's fine. One can do that to some degree. I do that inside the courses and what have you, but in fact, I do that quite a bit. But there's another part of it that has to do with feel. And so if I'm teaching you how to kiss a girl, right, or if it's a girl, I'm teaching you how to kiss a guy, which I wouldn't know, but I imagine it's similar. I could say, okay, you want to purse your lips up, and you want to take their face, and you want to mash it to your lips. That could look like a lot of different things, right? It could be someone doing this, going, right? And they're following the rules, but it's not quite a good kiss. So there's a lot to do with feel here and trial and error and that sort of thing. So you can teach someone how to kiss, like you could teach someone, hey, this note should work over this chord or scale. But until you do it, till you get in there and start practicing, you're not gonna really get the feel for it. And there needs to be that interaction, you know, hey, you're smushing me, or whatever. You see the crowd wincing when you play a particular note. Might be a good idea to get off that note. Or if you don't like the note yourself, okay? So it does have to do a lot to do with feel. With that being said, okay, being cognizant of what chord is being played while you're soloing is very, very helpful. Think about it like this. If you and I are talking, and I'm talking about the blues scale, and then I'm like, yeah, man, well, I saw this guy, and he played the Phrygian mode over this blues scale, and it sounded so amazing, right? And it did this, that, and the other thing. And then you keep talking about the Phrygian scale, and you never even nod your head or say, oh, the Phrygian scale, yeah, I know what you're talking about there. If you don't even approve or nod or let me know that you heard what I said, it's going to be a little awkward conversation, right? Because it feels like you didn't hear me. Well, the same thing is similar with music. So if a chord changes the dynamic, or not the dynamic, but the note structures and what notes you could play, and you don't do those things, you're not changing with it, then it's going to be a little bit awkward, or I should say it would sound better if you were cognizant of what notes are changing with that chord. I'll give you an example here. If I'm playing an A7, okay? Now I'm on D7. Here's my E7. Okay, so what's happening is, now I'm going to break this down, is that if I'm on this A7, it brings in this note, okay, which does not, this is just examples. I'm not expecting you to get all this. This is why inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, like what I'm showing you right now, maybe 20 videos, and I'm here trying to show it to you in 5 minutes. So if you don't get it, don't beat yourself up, because I wouldn't expect you to just get it right away. Some of you will get it, some of you won't. But if I'm playing this A7 here, this note is new. It's not in the blues scale. In fact, we skip over it. But this note is in that chord. So I could exploit it. So I just kind of threw in this. By just doing a little trill, saying, hey, I know what chord we're on. I know what I'm doing. And it makes it sound nice. Now when I go to this D7, I've got this D7 here, and this note here is new to the scale. In fact, it's not in the scale. Here's our blues scale. So watch this. That's the note that we're introducing in this new chord. It's not in the scale. The scale doesn't do this. It does this. So that note's not in there. But once that chord comes along, I could play that note, and I could kind of mess around with it and say, hey, I know you're there. Let's see what we can do with you. So suggesting the A7 again. And then when I go to that E7, you'll hear me do this kind of like. Well, look at this. So that note's not in the scale, neither is this one. Because watch. That note's not in the scale. And neither is this note. But when I introduce that E7 chord, I've got this note and this note that are being added to the dynamic, or to the note set that we could extrapolate to make it sound better. So when that E7 comes along, and then when it goes back to the D7, I'm resolving it, because these notes are not in the D7 chord. So as soon as that E7 chord goes away, now the rules change. Here I am on the D7. Okay, so some folks are like, dude, that's a lot of thinking. I know it is. That's not what we want to do in the beginning. We want to keep it really simple, like I showed you earlier with that minimalistic blues. But like I do in UGS, if you're beyond that point, right, and you're like, okay, I got the idea, I can play the scale, I can sound really good there, but you're throwing in some extra notes there, Eric, what are you doing? And then I break that down. I say, okay, when it comes to the 5 chord, or in this case the E7 chord, here's why I'm thinking that this note's okay. And look, it sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It sounds great. So you can do that all over the neck with these different chords. In fact, the E7, D7, and A7 all bring in a new note, at least one note. The A7, it's one note, the D7, it's one note, and the E7, it's 2 notes that are not in the blues scale. So essentially we've got a 6-note scale and we're adding 4 new notes to it. Now it becomes 10 notes. The chromatic scale has 12 notes, so that's pretty cool. We're literally playing 10 of the 12 chromatic notes. I mean, the whole spectrum of notes is only 12 notes repeated over and over and over again. So that's pretty cool. The blues, which is simple, we're throwing 10 notes out there. That's cool. So so all that to say, I know that's a long lesson there, Ray. But when I'm playing I'm playing in the scale, yes, but then I'm also seeking out the triad notes when I'm playing a chord, oftentimes. So that's the answer there. Okay. All right. All right, good questions. Super good questions. Okay, I'm seeing a question mark here. Or hold on. Oh, lots of questions. Lots of questions here. Okay. David Gilmour sometimes includes in his riffs what sounds like a pull-off using the 3rd or 4th fingers. Could you demonstrate? Yeah, Bob, it's not going to sound too impressive, but I mean, I've been doing it the whole time here, like. So that's 3 and 4 finger pull-offs. Make sense? B.B. King showed that shredding is not how to convey feeling. Do you agree? Wolfman saying. I think that B.B. King, here's the deal. B.B. King didn't shred because he couldn't, how can I say this without getting people to jump all over me? B.B. King could not shred, okay? At least I've never seen him do it. And what we mean by that word shred, folks, is we mean a player like Yngwie Malmsteen or Al Di Meola. I mean, there's jazz players that do it. There are rock players that do it. Neoclassical. What that means is when you're just completely dominating the neck, you're playing super fast. I won't even attempt to do it. I've got some stuff that's quasi shredding, but in order to be able to play like that, it requires a lot of practice. Okay, and B.B. King's a fantastic player, and he plays the blues differently than anybody else. I wouldn't say better. Personally, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan more than I did B.B. King, and I think B.B. King is amazing. But it's all, hey, guess what? It's subjective. Did you know that music's subjective? Could you imagine that one person likes something more than somebody else, and vice versa? It's true. And so I don't think that he was doing that to say, hey, you can't convey feelings by playing really fast. I don't think he could probably play fast like those other guys. You're not going to do what you don't practice. It's not like if you practice really slowly and you never try to practice anything fast, that all of a sudden you're just going to be able to shred fast. It just doesn't work that way. So I think it's what was in his heart, which was blues. And that's what he did. But if you said, hey, play some Yngwie Malmsteen, he's not going to be able to do that. Where if you asked Yngwie Malmsteen, he would be able to do those nice slow blues stuff. He's going to have a hard time because he loves playing fast. But I hate fingernails. How necessary are they for fingerstyle? If really needed, how long is long enough? Ben's saying. Ben, if you're playing steel string guitar, you don't necessarily need fingernails. You could use finger picks or just your fingertips. But if you're using nylon string guitars, then the sound is so subtle, it's so warm that fingernails really truly help. Okay, long enough to just hit the string. That's all you need. They don't need to be any longer than that. Okay. When bending, do you pick the string more than once or sweep pick? You can do either. When you're bending, do I pick the string more than once or do I sweep pick? It depends, and I'm not too sure about the answer to that. But you know, it just depends on what you're trying to do. Can I re-edit yesterday's video? The sound is off by 4 or 5 seconds. It's almost unwatchable. I'll take a note of that. I'll make sure Chris takes a note of that, and we will see if there's something we can do about that. Because, yeah, that's not good, and that's the first time I heard about that. We had a problem yesterday with some technical issues, but we got it resolved. We chopped off the front of the video, but that might have messed something up. We'll check into it. Thank you for letting me know. If I don't play my acoustic guitar for some time, like a week or so, should I leave it? I answered that one yesterday, Rahan. Yes, I know Tom Petty died. Yeah, that's sad. Johnny Cash, he's dead too. I know that one. Okay. Riad. No, I did not hear Greta Van Fleet. You asked me that one yesterday. I do not. I don't know who that is, my friend. What are the guitar effects that are typically used in blues soloing on an electric guitar? Rohan, there's really two that are used a lot, and that is some sort of overdrive like you're hearing here. Okay, that's a tube screamer-ish. It's what we call a tube screamer, and it's a pedal that just slightly overdrives an amplifier. And then reverb, you hear that little like, you hear how it kind of fades away? That's also, that's real popular in blues as well. How to get a good lead blues tone? Do what I just did right there. Play it through a Fender amp, that's a nice tone, and then a little bit of dirt, so like an overdrive pedal would help, with a little bit of reverb. Okay, I cover those tones in detail inside UGS. Again, if you're in there, you know where to go. Otherwise, for $1, you can get in there and you can really check out all that stuff. I might have some stuff on YouTube like that too. Whenever you're looking on YouTube, always type in YourGuitarSage and whatever it is you're looking for, YourGuitarSage Tone or YourGuitarSage Blues, and you'll find it really quickly. Okay. Okay. Troy's asking, do I plan on getting together with Papa Stash again? I do. I love Papa. He and I are good friends, and every time he's here, we hang out several times throughout the week. And so, yeah, hopefully he'll be back here soon. Love that guy. He's awesome. So, better to chase the chords than play the scale, Ray is saying. Ray, it's both, because if you're chasing the chord too much, what we mean by that, chasing the chord, friends, is when the chord is being played, that you're accenting those notes. So if I play this, so watch, if the only thing that I do is play the notes of the chord, it's going to sound kind of weird, right? So that would be an example of just playing on top of the chords. It almost sounds like I'm playing just rhythm there, right? Because I'm playing the chords, but essentially I'm just being a rhythm player then at that point. So I'd say, you want both, but you want to be cognizant of what the chord is and kind of extrapolate, pull some of those notes out also with your scale. So both, okay? Definitely. Okay, that was what, 64, 65. You're talking, this guitar is a 65. So good eye, if you're talking about the guitar, it's a February 65, pre-CBS part. So if you know anything about Strats, most blues players want a 64 or before, okay? If you can get a 65, like where I got it, like February 65, CBS technically took control of a Fender in 65, and so a lot of folks are like, anything 65 or after sucks. You don't want that Strat, like the diehard blues Strat players. But what they mean by that is you don't want the CBS parts because they started messing with stuff, goobering stuff up. And so luckily for me, I got a 65 that had all the 64 parts, right, before they started goobering things up. So it's really, realistically, it's what the true Strat blues players always ask for, which is 64 before, but technically it's a 65, which I don't mind that. It plays pretty good. I like it. All right, great questions. I'm going to bump back over to Facebook here in just a minute, but let's see. What's the best way to learn the notes on the fretboard? Friends, if you haven't done this already, you want to watch the video that's in the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. In fact, listen to me. You'll hear me say it. For those that have heard me say it before, I apologize. If you're watching this right now, you should be taking the time to watch this, okay? Watch this right now, you're here, all the rest. But my friends, watch this series because it's the 30 most important videos that you're ever going to learn on guitar. They're the beginning, they're the foundational bits and pieces. There's not a guitar player that you respect that doesn't know this stuff, or at least in some roundabout way. You gotta know that stuff. It's absolutely important, okay? And it's free. It's there for you for free. And one of the lessons is the notes on the fretboard. How to learn that. It's super easy, super quick, okay? All right, good. Okay, is there an alternate blues tuning, or is it always EAD-GBE? Jerry, some folks slide will use some slide tunings like Dadgad and what have you, but I'm still trying to learn the guitar the standard way, and I probably will to the day I die. So I feel like I haven't even come close to learning the guitar the way it is right now, so I don't need to change the tuning of it. That's me personally. I'm a beginner, but not a complete beginner. But struggling to progress to intermediate. Any advice? Odin Stan. Odin, yes, watch some videos, take some lessons. Beginner and intermediate, those are all words that people throw around, and what's different to what is one to somebody is something different to somebody else, both beginner and intermediate. So it's a really hard question to answer accurately. Anybody would be lying to you if they said, oh, you need to go straight here, because it's a broad stroke, okay? Okay, great. Mac is saying, I often feel like I sound scaly with the minor, but when I'm playing major, I get more feel with just a couple notes. How do I get the same melodic feel with the minor pentatonic as I do the major pentatonic? Mac, don't practice the major pentatonic for a while. Just practice the minor pentatonic. And Mac, do as I say in the Minimalistic Blues video, the ones on YouTube, or if you're in UGS, you got that whole series, right, on Minimalistic Blues, where we break it down, we do the call and response, all the rest. Do that. Understand one little small part of the fretboard and get really good at just feeling that, and that will transcend to all the different areas on the neck. It's all the same 5-6 notes, okay? So that's all you got to do is learn it in one position, and all the other bits will start making a lot of sense to you, you know? Since I've Been Loving You is an amazing blues song, and in fact, we've developed some blues tracks for UGS that are built around that chord progression because I love it so much. It's just such a beautiful, just such a beautiful chord progression, you know. Okay, beautiful. Someone's asking, am I vegan? Yes, I am plant-based. I don't say vegan because someone's going to get offended. So I'm plant-based, and someone's going to get offended at that because they don't like plants. So, yes. Okay, do you hear the notes when you play a solo in your head before you play them? Jose is saying. Jose, kind of. Just like I say, you know, when you're looking down at the fretboard, you can see the pattern there. It's like, it's not like something supernatural that happens where I'm literally seeing dots on the fretboard, but it's like for the same, you know, for the same bit that if you're doing anything that you're used to, you know, like it's kind of like this. If you're driving and you're going around a curve, it's not that it's like there's some intention of, you know, that you want to make that curve, and so you're turning, and you know that right means the car's going to go right. So in the same way, yes, I'm hearing the notes ahead of time before I play them. In essence, I kind of know what's going to happen. But here's the deal. It's more complex than just taking a right, okay? It's kind of like we're on a track, maybe that's a little icy, and we know that taking a right does that, but sometimes the back end will drift or something like that. And so when you're learning to improvise, and I'm still learning to improvise, I will be to the day I die, when you're learning to improvise, sometimes you will think that you're someplace that you're not. And you've got to use your ear and react quickly in resolving notes up or down so that it sounds like you know what you're talking about, okay? Every guitar player's done this since the beginning of time. They just don't tell you that they're doing it. But if you've ever watched, I mean, I've seen some amazing guitar players on stage, and I knew that they were doing the same thing where I would hear a note that they would play, and for a split second it didn't sound right, but then they would resolve it. And you know what I did then is I said, I think you heard that wrong, Eric. I think they intended on creating that tension. And the world will never know, only they will know. So if I hit a wrong note, what I will do sometimes is create a phrase out of that note, and I might play it a couple times so that it will become a part and parcel of everything that I'm doing. So instead of looking at it as a negative and going, oops, screwed up, look everybody, psh, psh, psh. Instead of doing something like that, I won't do all that drama, and I'll just keep playing, and I'll try to weasel that note into a lick again, and you'll be like, dude, that note that he threw in there was awesome. Little do you know, maybe I messed up. Maybe that note wasn't intentional, and I made it sound intentional after the fact. And I've heard great players do this, and to this day, I don't know whether they were doing that, like I just mentioned, or if they intended to do so. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's music, right? Just like when you listen to music now, it's so polished and it's run through tuners and it's to the grid and it's just bump, 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 perfect. You listen to old Zeppelin or you listen to anything back in the day, 60s and 70s and what have you, and the beat was floating. A lot of times they weren't using a metronome. Maybe everybody tuned to each other instead of tuning to a tuner, so it's off by a quarter of a step, not even a half step. So you know that they probably didn't intend to do that. They just tuned to each other that day. And you hear stuff like that now. You hear it so much from back in the day that now it becomes imprinted on you, and that's the sound that you want to hear. And if it were in time, if it were in tune like things are perfectly today, it would take some of the life out of it because that's not what you're used to hearing. Okay, so again, that kind of goes along similarly to what we're talking about here. Okay, am I doing lessons tomorrow? No live lessons tomorrow. No, right now we're just doing Wednesdays and Thursdays. So mark your calendar. We're trying to do this on every Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. All right, good stuff. What's a good price range to get a decent guitar less than $500? Luke is saying. Luke, check out check out my kit store, kit.com/YourGuitarSage. We've got lots of choices there. In fact, it depends on what you're looking for. Acoustic guitar, there's a great guitar that we just got in the studio here called Orange Wood. I'm really excited about these folks because they are so affordable, as affordable as the Epiphone guitars that you'll find on kit.com/YourGuitarSage. But they play even better and they sound really, really nice. I will be doing a review on them. But there's some electric guitars on there as well. Okay. Great. Okay, heading over to YouTube here, and I'm headed over to Facebook. I'm gonna answer some questions there. Make sure you're using those question marks, my friends, okay? Do power chords have much of a role in the blues? John's saying. John, kind of. We covered this last week in the rhythm section, but, you know, that right there is a power chord, right? I'm playing strings 5 and 4. So technically that's a power chord, but we play them with a boogie woogie lick like this. So technically that is a power chord, but we're playing them with that boogie woogie lick. So power chords in and of themselves, no, they don't really find a role in blues too much in and of themselves. Okay, it's usually along with this other bit here. Okay, no, you're saying like a second video inlaid into the video, a smaller video. It's like having 2 videos in one. Oh, I know about that. Yeah, sure, one camera would be on your fretting hand, the other would be similar inlaid on your picking hand, so I was hoping we could do that. Scott, yeah, if we did that, Scott, it wouldn't be as close as these close-ups that we're doing right now, obviously, because you got the full screen there, right? So if it was inlaid, it wouldn't be as close. That's why you see me bring my picking hand over here, you know? We're not going to get closer than that unless you're... We're not going to get any closer than that, my friend. Inlay is going to be smaller, right? Little section over here. So we probably won't do that. We have the ability to do that, but we find that these zooms are a lot closer. Yay! Fiona had a eureka moment with the Minimalistic Blues. I love it. Okay, Albert King played a box lower than the B.B. King, so does that mean he played form 1 where B.B. played form 1? I don't know, Fiona, to be exact. I honestly don't know. See, what happens a lot of times is people will call it, you know, the B.B. box or whatever, and, you know, truth be told, it's not, B.B. didn't come up with it, so to call it the B.B. box is like, you might as well call it the Sage box. It's like, it's no more his or mine than anybody else's. It's just maybe he hung out there a lot and played that way a lot. I do too. So let's from now on call it the Sage box, okay? No, seriously, it's just, it was there before, you know, when the earth was formed. So it's been around for a while, okay? These are just universal principles, and so it's just the blues scale. Okay, it's not really complicated. So everybody has played in that. Anybody who's played the blues has played in it. They're just playing it in different sections of the neck. That's pretty much it, if that makes any sense. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so I think that's all on Facebook. Headed back over to YouTube now, okay? Looking for question marks. If I don't see question mark, I ain't answering it because I can't read all these. Cool. You understand that, right? Okay. What is a good price for a decent? Okay, we answered that one. Luke, we sent you there. Have I ever uploaded Epiphone Elitist? I have not. I'd love to give you my thoughts on them. I get a lot of questions like that, but I haven't tried them all. Sorry. Yeah, Keith Richards plays only 5 strings a lot of times. He does. And he's got some open tuning that he uses as well. It sounds amazing. Yeah, so Rahan, you're saying, can I play the open low E string? I want to hear the amount of overdrive and reverb that you have so I can replicate the amount of effects. Sure. So you can hear, there's not a lot there as far as overdrive. I mean, if I dig into it, right? Same thing here. Almost sounds clean. But if I dig in, can do both. I can get nice and soft. Now if I turn that off, it's just clean, which is not a bad sound either. To me, that sounds a little nicer because I can that one can sing a bit, you know. All right, good. Any 300 thrash metal guitars worth buying? Luke, really anything with a humbucker is going to work. So like the Epiphone Les Pauls are good. Yeah, those will work. A lesson on Saturday, Ullman, not this Saturday. Not this Saturday, my friend. Yeah, we have these big live broadcasts that you can find at YourGuitarSage.com/live. Okay. But we typically only do those once a month, okay? And we do a lot of prep for that because we want to put on a killer show. We want to put on a killer show during the week too, but obviously if we're doing 2 of those and then 1, and I'm trying to create videos and everything else, we're doing these, they're a little bit lower key, you know? So What's Up Doc said something here. It's not a question, but I just noticed this, and he makes a great point. If you're buying a used guitar, throw in an extra $50 and get a setup, or make sure you can do it. And I would say spend the $50 and get a setup, because unless you're a guitar luthier, you're not going to do as good a job as a guitar luthier. Okay, I don't care how many YouTube videos you've watched, because it's a long process and you really got to know what you're doing, and you can monkey up a guitar pretty quickly. I've done it before. Okay, so yeah, an extra $50. Well, I don't have $50. Okay, then don't, and your guitar won't be set up. It's not going to play or sound like you want it to do that. Otherwise, spend the $50 and get the guitar to sound and play like you want it to. This Tuesday, in fact, we're going to be doing, I've got enough requests about this now that we're going to do a whole series inside of UGS. I don't know how long it's going to be, at least an hour, maybe a couple hours, but it's going to be all about guitar maintenance and how you can do some of this stuff yourselves. Okay, now, I don't condone that unless you're being taught by somebody who really, really, really knows what they're doing. There's a lot of people doing stuff on YouTube that may or may not be right, and I can't approve the video unless I've watched it and all the rest. And even then, that's not my forte. My forte is teaching how to play guitar, not doing technical work. So that's why I'm bringing Greg Ellis, my guitar tech, in, who's helped me buy all my guitars and amps. He helps me look them over, make sure they're legit, nothing's screwy with it, and then he sets them all up for me. Okay. And this is really important. So on this Tuesday, I'm bringing the crew down to Franklin Guitar Repair, and I'm going to bring all my guitars, or at least my nice guitars, and I'm going to have him look at all those guitars, look them over, fix them up. He's done that with all my guitars, but he's going to be doing it again. And so you're going to get a lot more details. That's going to be a whole new course that's inside of Unstoppable. Pretty cool, right? But I would not suggest doing that yourself. Even I don't do that, and I've been monkeying with guitars a little bit for quite some time, okay? Oh, that's bad. That's a bad word now, monkeying, isn't it? Some kids got really, really upset about that. It's political stuff that I ignore, so it doesn't count. I can say monkeying all day long. Monkeying, monkeying, monkeying. How to do vibrato. Okay, I've got a video for that, my friend. But here's the deal: when it comes to vibrato, it's going to sound awkward at first. We talked about this yesterday. Okay, so it's going to sound awkward at first. The only way to get it to sound good is to practice it until it doesn't. There is no trick that I can show you with vibrato, other than maybe you want to think. It's helpful to have the other fingers with it. You don't want to leave the fingers solo like this, with all without the other fingers supporting it. You don't want to be doing vibrato like that. Even though I can do it, really you want the other fingers around there to help support, okay? And you want to practice it until it sounds right. I wish that I had a trick. There is no trick to it. Anybody that says there is, tell them to come see me, because there is no trick. There's just not. I've seen B.B. King play 15th fret or on the high E, slightly bend it so it screams, and then sliding back to the 3rd or 2nd fret. Can you show the right way to do it, Rahan? I don't know what lick he's playing, Rahan. There's not a right way to do it. When we're talking about music, it's about painting. And one person's going to use the brush a certain way, and then somebody else is going to use it a different way. And so there is no right when it comes to music. There really just isn't. It's all subjective. And so if he's playing at the 15th fret and bending slightly, I don't even know what key he's in. So it would depend on what key he's in for me to, to use it in the right. I'd have to know what the key is that he's playing to know exactly what you're talking about there. I struggle to learn songs and get them up to speed. Any advice? Where do I start? Odin, start at the speed that you're at, and don't do it any faster than that until you're very, very accurate. When you're accurate and you can do it at that speed, whatever speed that is for you accurately, then it's time to speed it up a little bit. But if it all of a sudden starts falling apart, you're doing it way too fast. But Eric, I want to do it faster. Okay, fine. I want to rule the world, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it, right? You got to, one step at a time, okay? So if you're playing something at 50 beats per minute, then instead of jumping to 70 beats per minute, why don't you bump up to like 52 beats per minute? See if that works for you. Play that through a few times, then bump it up to 54. If that's too fast, bump it back to 53, okay? So you want to do what's comfortable for you where you're not messing up and you're not stressed out, because that stressed out bit is only going to mess you up more, okay? And then that's where you start. You start where you're at, and then you just move up slowly from there. Hi, would you recommend an HSS or single coil Strat for versatility? A humbucker single HSS is what you want. Those are great because you can play rock, blues, country, jazz, all sorts with it. It's amazing. When playing the blues, do you prefer using a Les Paul or a Tele? I am partial to a Les Paul and a Strat. I prefer playing a Strat when it comes to blues, unless I'll play a Les Paul when it comes to more like stuff where I really want the guitar to sing out, then I'm going to use a Les Paul. I love Teles, but I've got a real nice 67 Tele, but I'm not in love with the pickups, so unfortunately I don't pick it up all the time. So I'm thinking about trading her in because it's just not what I want. I could put a set of newer pickups in it or something that suits me better because the guitar plays beautifully and it's gorgeous. I might end up doing that and saving those pickups to keep it legit, you know. Okay. All right, good. I really enjoyed these call and response sessions. Do you plan on doing more in the future? Terry, I might, but like I said, I have some videos on YouTube, and then I definitely have some inside UGS. So if I'm teaching the blues, then yes, I will definitely do some more call and response. It's just that, you know, since we're talking about blues lead work, it makes sense here to do that, you know. Okay, good. Jerry Garcia. Okay, so someone's talking amongst each other here. That's fine. Cool. All right. Your low E string on your electric is buzzing when you play it open, but the sound I hear through my amp is perfect. Should I do something about it or just let it be? Rahan, I would let it be. If it's not bothering you, don't worry about it. Okay? Don't monkey with it unless it's unless there's a problem, okay? Just leave it alone. Play. Practice more. Okay? And so TBA1 said, frets not level, ? Action too low. There's many different things that this can be. Think about it. The string is between the nut and the bridge. You got frets in between. It's on a guitar neck that has a truss rod. There's like four or five variables right there. The nut could be too low. It could be too high but cut too low. There's, you know, so the nut itself, there's all sorts of issues that could be with the nut. The saddles could be too low. The bridge could be too low. You could have uneven frets to where one fret is lower or higher than another. The arc of the neck could be such that it's bent back too far or it's perfectly straight. You don't want, although it sounds like you want a neck that's perfectly straight, you don't. There should be a very, very, very slight arch in it. Don't think that you know what that means, a very slight arch. Leave that up to a guitar luthier, in my opinion. Because when I'm looking at my guitar neck, which this guitar plays perfectly, does it play perfectly? No, there's one little issue that I forgot I came across the other day. I forgot what it was. Because I need to tell Greg. Anyhow, it plays just about perfectly, and there's just barely a slight little arc in the neck, okay? All different things it can be, so you really don't want to mess it up, okay? Sage, will you ever make lessons on how to mimic particular guitarists' sounds without necessarily playing their riffs, but just understanding how they do what they do? Celeste, that's a great idea for a video. That's a great idea for a video. I did actually think about doing that in regards to vibrato, because you could take Angus Young, right, who's like... You know? He's got a certain vibrato sound, right? And so does B.B. King. And then you've got Zakk Wylde, who's like... Right? And he's got that... So he's not doing it on a Strat for sure. But he's doing it on a Les Paul, and he's got tons of overdrive, and he's doing the nice... those sorts of bits, right? He's doing the nice false harmonics. I just remembered what's wrong with my guitar. So here you go. If I bend this A string, you'll see that I'll show you. So this is something that I'm going to have Greg work on my guitar. But right now, you might be able to see this, watch the A string. If I bend the A string, it falls out of the nut there. You can see it came right out of the nut. So there's a bit that he can do with a little bit of super glue where he recreates the nut there, cuts it again so that the string can sit in there, but yet it's got enough of a lip to where it's not going to fall out of there. So there's little tricks that can be done in order to fix that stuff. Cool? Yeah, but you don't want to do it yourself. All right, good questions. Good questions. Okay. All right, bumping back over to Facebook really quickly. And friends, we got about 14 minutes. We're going to go to 1 o'clock today. So please share this video right now, because if not, you're missing out on the possibility of winning a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System. Let me ask you this. If we were to do this twice a week, and then we do the live broadcast, let's just add this up for a minute. That's 8 times. We do a live broadcast. We give away, like, the last one we gave away 10. We gave away 2 yesterday. So let's just say we take this average month where I'm doing 2 broadcasts per week, right? And we threw in an extra one, plus we did 10. We took just an average month. We're talking 8, 9, 19, about 20 lifetime memberships per month, right? Times 400, what's that? $8,000. So just in lifetime memberships, I'm giving about $8,000 worth of those away every single month, not to mention the guitars and everything else. But with that being said, think about that for a minute. What are the chances of you winning if you keep coming back to these broadcasts? They're really, really high. It's not like you're entering the lottery. So share this, and eventually you're going to win. I mean, we've given these away so much so that we've had folks that are already in the broadcast or that are already in UGS. They've won this, okay? So they're either giving it to a friend or what have you. So chances are pretty high if you're coming to these broadcasts all the time that you're going to win. Eventually, okay? All right, good. I see one question here, I think. No. Okay, yeah. Eric is saying, I use a pedal with an acoustic for just some boost for a solo, but when I turn it on, I get a buzz. It sounds like a grounding issue or related to the amount of treble I use. Any suggestions on how to troubleshoot that? Yeah, and you phrased that question really, really well, Eric, in that, how would you troubleshoot it, right? Because you got to find out what it is, and it can be several different things. So the fact that you're adding treble and it's coming out is probably just the fact that the frequency range of the issue that you're having is being accentuated when you turn up the treble, which treble is just nothing but a volume knob for a certain frequency range. Same thing with bass. It's just a volume knob for the bass level. Same thing with mids. So when you turn up that treble, you're turning up the volume of the higher end, and chances are that the specific issue that you're having is in that higher end. That's why it goes up when you're hearing that. So yeah, it's probably some sort of grounding issue. And, you know, the only way I can say this is to isolate. Okay, so that means, you know, take every piece. This is like, I teach this inside the Unstoppable Guitar System when we're talking about breaking down a song. It's called the inventory breakdown method. You take all the different pieces. You got chords, you got chord progression, you got scales, this sort of thing, and you got to break it all down, and learn them individually, and then bring them together. Well, similarly, when you have an issue, you've got to get that mind frame of like an engineer where you're like, okay, how are we going to find this problem? Okay, well, we've got two cables here, and we've got two pedals, and then we got that amplifier, we got the guitar, and we got this power outlet and this power outlet. So you got like 10 variables there. So what you got to do is you got to take everything out and put one thing in. You know, take your guitar, plug it into that pedal, and nothing else. You know, see if the sound, if you're still getting that problem. If you're not, then it's probably in the other 8 things. If it is in that, then that means it's either in the guitar, in the cable, the pedal, and then whatever you're plugging it into, right? If you can parse it down even more, now you can change out, you know, now change out the guitar and the cable. Now you just got the pedal and what you're plugged into. If you still got the sound, now you know it's either the pedal or the thing you're plugged into. So now, take the pedal and plug it into something else. If you're still having an issue, then you know it's the pedal. So you want to continue to just take things away, or start at nothing and then add. That's a quicker way to do it, and you'll find out what the heck is going on, you know. Eric, is the giveaway a good tax write-off for you? No, it is not. I cannot claim taxes for giving those away because the way the IRS looks at that sort of thing is they don't allow you, they don't, basically like goes like this. They'll tax me on the money that I make from it, but they don't consider it to be a viable product because you can't hold it in your hands because it is an internet thing, and the IRS maybe doesn't understand about the internet yet, that there's actual worth there and there's things that you can buy and sell and trade and those sorts of things. So yes, they'll tax the money if I make money on it, but if I give it away, it's not a tax deduction whatsoever. Doesn't that suck? That sucks. But it's okay. It doesn't matter because that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I really, truly love to give stuff away. And in fact, we, to date, eventually we're going to probably have this on the website somewhere. We've given away, not in these giveaways, but like to charity, we've given away over $500,000 worth of lessons to charities. These are charities that really need it. These are like 401s, animal organizations where they're helping animals, or they're helping orphans, or they're helping children, or education in inner city and stuff like that. So we've literally generated over $500,000 by giving the lifetime memberships away in auctions and that sort of thing. And that just makes me feel good because that's like, right, it's out there in the world, folks are learning how to play guitar, and it's helping the world. So, and that too is not tax deductible. So I wish it were, that'd be a bonus, but it's okay if it doesn't because it is helping the world, and I love that. Okay, so Gilmore's tone is one of the most difficult and expensive tones to chase. Trust me. Okay, so we can talk about Gilmore's tone a little bit, but Strat is the main thing that you need, and then you need to play his licks. That's going to get you much closer there than any buying amps or anything like that. People say, well, yeah, but we're just talking about the tone. I understand we're just talking about the tone, but if you're not playing Gilmore licks, but you've got his tone, it's not going to sound like Gilmore. It's just not. So learn his licks, learn the way he executes stuff, and you're going to be a lot closer than if you bought all of his exact equipment. Otherwise, the place to start with is the guitar. Make sure the pickups and selectors where he has his, and the tone knobs and that sort of thing. And then the next thing would be the amp. You know, make sure the amp is clean. He likes lots of delay, lots of reverb, those sorts of things. So that's a good way to get it to get your bearing on that basic idea there. Okay. Yeah, so you want a very clean amp, EQ pedal, compressor, a good, yeah. They're a good start, indeed. Yes, 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 yes. Great questions. We got about 7 minutes here, my friends, before we go. So I want to make sure that we get to a few other questions here. What do you have? If y'all want to get good, practice 3 hours a day. Indeed, Iron. 3 hours will get you, is better than 2 hours. It's not as good as 4 hours. And I know people laugh when I say that sort of thing, but I get this all the time. People say, is 3 hours enough for me to become great if I practice 3 hours a day? Which is always followed with a question. It's like, well, how good do you want to get? Because 3 hours is not enough time if you want to be the best. It's not close to enough time. If you want to be the best, you better live, breathe, and drink that guitar. You need to be saying more like, how much sleep do I need to get? Or do I really need to eat a third meal today? Like literally, we live in a world now where people are doing extreme things and they're hitting new heights and they're getting better and better at younger and younger ages because they're standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say, right? So Eddie Van Halen learned from the guys that he learned from, and now these younger kids will learn from Eddie Van Halen, right? So it's just they're learning at earlier ages all the time. So practice for as good as you want to get. If you're fine with complete mediocrity, then only practice a medium amount. If you're totally fine with sucking, then don't practice much. But if you want to be excellent, then practice a lot more than you ever thought that you should practice. That's the gamut, okay? I wish there was a way that we could get around that, but there's not. Actually, I'm not. I'm glad that that's the way life works out. Why? Because the people that put in the hard work, those beings that put in the hard work and the hard hours and kick ass and all that should get the lion's share. They should be the ones that excel, right? Not the lazy people. I know for the lazy people, they're saying, but what about us? Well, then don't be lazy, Go for it. Get big. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's get to some more questions here, if there is any. What's the best way to share from your phone? What's up, Doc? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. There's a lot of different ways. Google, I think Google has a way of doing it too. Not sure you mentioned octaves and muting strings, which I can't do, Eric. Had a Skype call interrupting your session. Not sure if you mentioned octaves and muting strings. No, I did not mention that, Esther. Okay, I think I shared it on Facebook properly. Good. Do you have any tips to build stamina? Guitar player's asking. Yes, build stamina. I know some of you get upset when I answer like that, but I'm trying to condition you to understand that whatever it is you're having a problem with is exactly what you should be practicing. People will say, man, I'm trying to play this lick, but I'm having a hard time. Do you have any exercises for that? Do you have any exercises for playing this lick? How about playing the lick? Because that's exactly what you're trying to do. So if you're playing this, that's an exercise. But then you go to do this. If that doesn't sound right, then you could be playing that other exercise all day long. Practice exactly what it is that you suck at. The thing that you are the worst at, if you want to get better at it. Don't practice something just because it's painful, okay? Don't be that guy. That's me. That was me. I did that all the time. Practice stuff that I was terrible at. Not necessarily that I loved doing it, but I just thought that, well, because it was painful, that there would be a big reward on the other side. Sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But a better way to think about it is, what is it that you're trying to do on the instrument, okay? And for instance, if it's blues and you're trying to play this blues lick and you know that this blues lick's really going to add to your repertoire or your vocabulary of licks and what it is that you're trying to say, then by all means, take the time that it takes to actually learn that. So for instance, with stamina, if you're playing for a half hour and then you're giving at it about a half hour, you have to push yourself. Listen to this concept, my friend. Some of you will get this. Some of you have never heard this before, and it's a very, very basic principle. But if you don't understand it, and it is huge, apply this to anything in your life and you will see massive gains. whatever you think is your stopping point, if it's 10 push-ups, if it's 50 push-ups, if it's playing for an hour a day, if it's getting up at 6 a.m. and you don't think you can get up at 5:30 a.m. It's all an illusion, okay? It's all what you've told yourself. You set up a pattern, you have a paradigm or a model of what you think things should be because so-and-so said this or so-and-so put this on Facebook, yes, that, and the other thing. And you've been conditioned. We've all been conditioned in some ways to be less than what we could be, okay? And so the only way to break out of this is to get out of your comfort zone. Some of you have heard this before, but if 50 push-ups is all you can do, guess what? In order for you to do more, you can't do 50 push-ups anymore. You have to push past 50. You got to do 55. You need to do 53. You need to do 60. You need to push past that number. And then all of a sudden, you're going to start doing more because just like swimmers that swim with weights or something that drag them, they swim with their clothes on or something like that, jeans. Well, then what that does is it conditions them to get used to, okay, I'm having all this drag. Then when they get in the water as a professional swimmer and they grease up and all that stuff, then they're like a minnow through the water and it feels like $1 million, right? Because mentally they're like, this is not tough anymore. You have something to compare it to. Those that have gone through traumas and stuff like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you've gone through something that you can compare the rest of life to, when you hear people complaining about little things and you've been through something very huge, it puts perspective on it, right? So in the same way here, if you're really trying to build stamina, the only way to build stamina is to push past what you're currently doing and what's currently comfortable for you. And if you're not building stamina. You're just maintaining, okay? No harm in that, but you're not doing what it is you're trying to do. So I'm just trying to give you the truth, okay? Sometimes the truth is not, sometimes it's painful, okay? All right. All right. I'm going to answer just like the 3 more that I see here that are inside of YouTube, and then that's it, okay? So we're going to stop at Jeff Minnick. He'll be the last one. Okay, but if you're just beginning, can't it be overdone until you build up the conditioning? Barry is saying. Barry, can it be overdone? No, you're not going to overdo it any more than you would overdo it at the gym. I mean, that's all perspective. One guy's going to say you're overdoing it. Somebody else is going to say, get up and do more. You know what I'm saying? It's just all perspective. So you're not going to blow out a finger. You're not going to break a wrist. You may get a blister. Your fingertips may bleed a little bit. You may be a little bit painful or something like that. But that's what we call overdoing it. And I suggest making it just painful enough to where you're constantly feeling that pain of growth. Okay, I say the same thing with the gym. What I used to do is, like, if I hadn't worked out for a while and then I would go to the gym, I would always hit it really super hard the first day, and then the following day I couldn't walk or use my arms or lift my arms up. That's probably not very productive because you're not allowing your muscles to get to a place where they should get, and it means I'm not going to go to the gym for another week. What would have been a better idea is for me to do a little bit less than that, or a lot of bit less than that, enough to where it hurt the next day, but to where I could go to the gym the next day, make it hurt, next day make it hurt, to where I'm always just pushing myself a little bit. If you're not hurting in any area of your life, whether it's food, if it doesn't hurt a little bit, that you're holding back on some things, or working out, or walking, or playing guitar, or being kind, or whatever, if it doesn't hurt a little bit, you ain't doing it right, and you're not doing it enough. Whatever it is, okay, it's got to hurt a little bit, okay, and it grows character. Okay, so is there a blues scale for a 7 and 8 string guitar? Yes, there's scales for all of those. It's just extending the scale, okay, indeed. You can use your ear, or I'm sure there are maps out there that somebody has. Okay, and that's it. I won't answer any more questions. Friends, if you haven't already, please share this video. Let me give you a couple things before we leave. Listen, if you've not taken advantage of the free course, do it. My goodness, it's like a wealth of knowledge. I'm giving it to you for free. Folks say, well, why do you give that away? And why did you create that course if you're just going to give it away? Because we got to a certain point with YourGuitarSage where we got so many folks responding and so many comments that the whole point of me starting YouTube And doing what I did was I was just trying to share knowledge. That's why a lot of people do what they do on YouTube, is they're like, hey man, this is cool, I know this thing, and maybe I can help somebody else. And it doesn't take a minute but to make a video and then to post it, and now you're helping thousands of people. How cool is that, right? So that's how I started off, and I loved doing that, and it wasn't for several millions of views until someone said, hey, I want to get a course from you. I want to get a book from you. And that's when I said, okay, I guess I really need to take this more seriously. And I didn't have to. I could still be working a corporate job and playing some guitar, but I wouldn't be able to be sitting with you now and doing this thing. So that comes from actually having courses that people buy sometimes. But with that being said, I don't care whether you buy something from me or you don't buy something. I mean, if you buy something, if you buy the big course, then great, you're only going to learn more. But I just want you to learn guitar, and everybody's in a different place. And I've got lots of different ways for you to do that. Listen, here are the ways. 1,000-something videos on YouTube. You got YourGuitarSage. You have YGS Guitar Lessons, which is a whole nother channel that has all sorts of theory stuff. You got this big package right here, YourGuitarSage.com/1, which literally, for $1, you can get a 30-day access to everything that I do. 1,000-something videos that you can't access anywhere but inside that link right there. Or if you're in UGS already. You have access to UGS and 365. It's a daily practice. You'll learn more about it by hitting that link and seeing it. And you literally have 30-day access for $1. Get out of there in 30 days. If you don't like it, you won't pay anything else. Otherwise, whatever you signed up for will continue, and you can cancel whenever you want. Okay, that's that. If you don't have $1, you're like, dude, come on, man, times are tough. I don't have $1. Selfish, if you're like that, okay. Well, then YourGuitarSage.com/30. It's a free course, and that's why I created that. It's because I had so many people ask these questions that were asked here today. 95% of what was asked here today can be answered in that course right there. It's building that foundation so that you can literally have wings and then go do whatever it is that you want to do. There's some basics that we got to know about the guitar, and if you don't know those things, then you're not going to know them, and you shouldn't expect to be able to do things without knowing them. It's just like anything else, right? So you've got many different places you can learn from me. You've got stuff for free. You've got more advanced stuff. You've got the whole enchilada. So please let me know how I can help you guys, okay? I'm here to do that. It's like my mission. It's my calling. It's my why. And to help the world in other ways that I can do it. But that's one way I know I can help the world. So take advantage of those things today. Please share this right now if you haven't already. It'll give you the opportunity to be in the running for winning a lifetime membership. And if you do this every single time, friends, the chances go up again, nearly 20 times. You would have the opportunity 20 times to win this month alone. So pretty cool stuff. Do that, and what else? I think that's all I got for you right now. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Great questions. I really appreciate you taking the time here and trusting me with your guitar education. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.